Talker with Rev Zechariah A Jackson. Reverend Jackson is founding pastor of the Church of His Coming Now, located in Plainfield, New Jersey. And now, Town Talker, Rev Zechariah Jackson.
Good morning, good evening, church. I'm happy to come to you this evening. You know, we are going to tie up the Martin Luther King celebration and get ready for the Black History Month. So basically, we got one after the other. We had a good time with the Harvest Fellowship at King's Temple Monday, the 21st, and the many different ceremonies that went on in our city, Plainfield, here and around the country, and in some way around the world also. So we were very happy and pleased with the Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. And this year here, of course, April 4th will be 40 years since the assassination of the great doctor, and they're going to have a ceremony in Memphis, Tennessee, of course, where it happened, and back in Atlanta at the King's Center. I hope really to be down there if I can. God, find a way of getting me down there. We're working on it now, and I think that we're going to be getting a plane to go down there with a few people. So it'll be a blessing to be there at the King's Center. You know, you really feel that when you come across the tomb, and now they have the tomb of Coretta Scott King right next to his now. So that's a good thing to see both of them together, that, you know, at their last final day. I have a short message. I want to talk to the clergy in the church out here. You know, there's a lot of that Tom Hanks movie, and this was true to Apollo, I believe it was 13, that was lost in space, you know. And the idea was the engineers had to find out how to bring them in, you know, and it was up there for a few days. And I remember I think it was the Grumman engineer kept telling the other engineers, he said, you know, or salesman, he said, but the capsule wasn't designed for this here. So he wanted to make sure that the insurance liability did not, you know, go over. He said, you do what you want, but the capsule wasn't designed. We know the runway wasn't designed like we gonna make it work. We know the game. You understand me? I go back to years ago when I used to take my motorcycle and do jumps here. Today we have two young men that's going to deliver the final speeches for the Martin Luther King. I want them to come up here and introduce themselves and tell the public where they're from. You're going first, is that right, or is she going first?
I think she's going first.
You're going to go first? Why don't you go first and let her jump off of your back so she see a little confidence, and then you go. Because somebody got to go, because, you know, time is going. You know, we only got a half an hour, so come on and deliver the message. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christopher Cooper. I'm a senior at Plainfield High School, and I'm a member of the Piscataway Orders, Chapter 1. And the speech I'm going to do today is Where Are We Going? From King's 1967 book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? In the treatment of poverty nationally, one fact stands out. There are twice as many white poor as Negro poor in the United States. Therefore, I will not dwell on experiences of poverty that derive from racial discrimination, but will discuss the poverty that affects white and Negro alike. Up to recently, we have proceeded from a premise that poverty is a consequence of multiple evils: lack of education, restricting job opportunities, poor housing which stultified home life and suppressive initiative, fragile family relationships which distorted personality development. The logic of this approach suggested that each of these causes be attacked one by one. Hence, a housing program to transform living conditions, improve educational facilities to furnish tools for better job opportunities, and family counseling to create better personal adjustments were designed. In combination, these measures were intended to remove the causes of poverty. While none of these remedies in itself is unsound, all have a fatal disadvantage. The programs have never proceeded on a coordinated basis or at a similar rate of development. Housing measures have fluctuated at the whims of legislative bodies. There have been piecemeal and pigmy. Educational reforms have been even more sluggish and entangled in bureaucratic stalling and economic-dominated decisions. Family assistance stagnated in neglect and then suddenly was discovered to be the central issue on the basis of hasty and superficial studies. At no time has a total, coordinated, and fully adequate program has been conceived. As a consequence, fragmentary and spasmodic reforms have failed to reach down to the profoundest needs of the poor. In addition to the absence of coordination and sufficiency, the programs of the past have another common failing. They are indirect. Each seek to solve poverty by first solving something else. I'm now convinced that the simplest approach will prove to be the most effective. The solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. Earlier in the century, the proposal would have been greeted with ridicule and denunciation as a destructive initiative and responsibility. At that time, economic status was considered the measure of the individual's abilities and talents. In the simplistic thinking of the day, the absence of worldly goods indicated a want of industrious habits and moral fiber. We have come a long way in our understanding of human motivation and of the blind operation of our economic system. Now we realize that dislocations in the market operation of our economy and the prevalence of discrimination thrust people into idleness and bind them in a constant or frequent unemployment against their will. The poor are less often dismissed from our conscience today by being branded as inferior and incompetent. We also know that no matter how dynamically the economy develops and expands, it does not eliminate all poverty. We have come to the point where we must make the non-producer a consumer, or we will find ourselves drowning in a sea of consumer goods. We have so energetically mastered production that we now must give attention to distribution. Though there have been increases in purchasing power, they have lagged behind increases in production. Those at the lowest economic level, the poor, white and Negro, the aged and chronically ill, are traditionally unorganized and therefore have little ability to force the necessary growth in their income. They stagnate or become even poorer in relation to the larger society. The problem indicates that the emphasis must be twofold. We must create full employment, or we must create incomes. People must be made consumers by one method or the other. Once they are placed in this position, we need to be concerned that the potential of the individual is not wasted. New forms of work that enhance the social good will have to be devised for those whom traditional jobs are not available. In 1879, Henry George anticipated this state of affairs when he wrote In Progress and Poverty. The fact is that the work which improves the condition of mankind, the work which extends knowledge and increases power and enriches literature and elevates thought, is not done to secure a living. It is not the work of slaves, driven to the task either by the lash of a master or by animal necessities. It is the work of men who perform in it for their own sake, and not that they may get more to eat or drink or wear or display. In a state of society where want is abolished, work of this sort could be enormously increased. We are likely to find that the problems of housing and education, instead of preceding the elimination of poverty, will themselves be affected if poverty is first abolished. The poor transformed into purchasers will do a great deal on their own to alter housing decay. Negroes who have a double disability will have a greater effect on discrimination when they have the additional weapon of cash to use in their struggle. Beyond these advantages, a host of positive psychological changes inevitably will result from widespread economic security. The dignity of the individual will flourish when the decisions concerning his life and in his hands, when he has assurance that his income is stable and certain, and when he know that he has the means to seek self-improvement, personal conflicts between